I'm pregnant. The words hit me before the door even finished closing behind Emily. I stood frozen in the hallway, still holding the dish towel I'd been using to wipe the kitchen counter. For a second I thought I heard her wrong. You're what? I asked. Emily dropped her suitcase beside the couch and looked at me, her smile small and tight. Pregnant? She repeated softly. My heart slammed against my ribs. Wait, seriously? I laughed nervously and walked toward her. Emily, are you serious? She nodded. Yes. For a moment I forgot how to breathe. 2 years. 2 years of doctor visits, negative tests, and quiet disappointment. I grabbed her shoulders. This is amazing. She let out a quick breath. Yeah, it is. I pulled her into a hug, but her body felt stiff in my arms. I missed you, I said. The house felt empty all week. Yeah, the trip was long, she murmured. I stepped back and studied her face. You okay? You look tired. I'm fine, she said quickly. Just exhausted from traveling. I nodded and pointed toward the kitchen. Well, perfect timing. I made dinner. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. You cooked. Hey, I said, pretending to sound offended. I can cook. She forced a small laugh. Right. My husband the chef. A few minutes later we sat at the table. I had made pasta and garlic bread, nothing fancy, but I'd spent half the afternoon preparing it. Emily barely touched her food. You're not hungry? I asked. Just a little nauseous, she said. Oh. I nodded quickly. Morning sickness, right? Something like that. I leaned forward, excitement buzzing in my chest. So, when did you find out? Emily twirled her fork slowly. A few days ago. On the trip. Yeah. My eyebrows rose. You didn't tell me? I wanted to tell you in person, she said quickly. That's fair, I said with a smile. That's fair. For a moment we ate in silence, then a thought crossed my mind. Wait, I said. How far along are you? Emily froze for half a second. I don't know exactly. You took a test though? Yeah. I nodded slowly. So, the baby must have happened right before your trip. She nodded quickly. Exactly. I smiled again, but something in my chest felt strange. 2 years. We had tried for 2 years, doctor appointments, diet changes, timing everything perfectly, and suddenly it happened the week before she left. I shook the thought away. Miracles happen, I told myself. Emily pushed her plate away. I'm really tired, she said quietly. Of course. I stood up immediately. You should rest. She walked toward the bedroom while I started clearing the table. Halfway down the hall she stopped. Daniel? Yeah. She looked back at me. You're happy, right? I laughed. Emily, are you kidding? This is the best news I've heard in years. She stared at me for a moment like she was searching my face. Good, she said softly, then disappeared into the bedroom. I finished cleaning the kitchen and turned off the lights. When I walked into the bedroom, Emily was already under the blanket staring at her phone. I climbed into bed beside her. So, I said gently, we're going to be parents. She nodded without looking at me. Yeah. I smiled at the ceiling. Wow. Silence filled the room. After a minute I spoke again. Did you tell anyone yet? No, so I'm the first? Yes. That makes it even better, I said. She locked her phone and placed it on the nightstand. Daniel? Yeah. Her voice sounded careful. You trust me, right? The question caught me off guard. Of course I trust you. Completely? I turned my head toward her. Emily, you're my wife. Why wouldn't I trust you? She didn't answer immediately. I just wanted to hear you say it, she whispered. I reached for her hand. Hey, I said softly. We're going to be okay. Everything's going to change now. She squeezed my hand weakly. Yeah, everything's going to change. A few minutes later her breathing slowed and she fell asleep quickly, but I stayed awake. My mind kept replaying the dinner conversation. A small detail wouldn't stop bothering me, the way she hesitated when I asked how far along she was, the way she avoided my eyes. I sat up quietly and looked at her sleeping face. Daniel, I whispered to myself, shaking my head. You're overthinking. 2 years of trying. Maybe the universe had finally decided to give us a break. I lay back down and stared at the ceiling again, but as sleep slowly crept toward me, one quiet thought kept whispering in the back of my mind. Something about tonight didn't feel right, and I had no idea that this moment, this single conversation, was the beginning of the worst chapter of my life. I drove Emily to the clinic the next morning. The silence inside the car felt strange. You feeling okay? I asked. Emily looked out the window. Just tired? Morning sickness already? Maybe. I tried to sound cheerful. Guess that means the baby is healthy. Emily forced a small smile. Yeah, maybe. The clinic parking lot was already busy. I parked the car and looked at Emily. Nervous? A little, Emily admitted. Don't worry, I said. This is good news. Emily nodded but didn't answer. Inside the clinic, the nurse called Emily's name. Emily Carter. Emily stood. Come with me. I'm not missing this, I said. We walked into the examination room together. A few minutes later the doctor entered. Good morning, the doctor said. I'm Dr. Laura Bennett. Nice to meet you, I replied. Dr. Laura Bennett smiled. So Emily Carter, congratulations. Emily nodded quietly. Dr. Laura Bennett looked at the chart. When was the first positive test? 3 days ago, Emily said. Dr. Laura Bennett wrote something down. Well, everything looks normal so far. I leaned forward. So, how far along is Emily Carter? Dr. Laura Bennett tapped the chart. Based on the early indicators, Emily Carter appears to be around 6 weeks pregnant. My stomach tightened. 6 weeks. Emily's trip had been last week. Dr. Laura Bennett kept speaking. We'll confirm everything with blood tests and scans later, but 6 weeks is the early estimate. I tried to keep my voice calm. 6 weeks. Yes, Dr. Laura Bennett said. Give or take a few days. I looked at Emily. Emily avoided my eyes. Dr. Laura Bennett smiled kindly. First pregnancy? Yes, I said. Well, some nausea and fatigue are normal. Emily Carter should rest more and avoid stress. Emily nodded. Okay. Dr. Laura Bennett continued writing notes. Any questions? I forced a smile. No, everything sounds clear. Emily spoke quickly. No questions. Good, Dr. Laura Bennett said. Congratulations again. We left the office a few minutes later. The hallway felt longer than before. I kept hearing the number in my head. 6 weeks. Inside the car I started the engine. Neither of us spoke. Finally I said, 6 weeks sounds earlier than expected. Emily looked at the dashboard. Doctors estimate sometimes. Yeah, I said slowly. But 6 weeks is pretty specific. Emily sighed. Daniel, stop overthinking. I'm not overthinking, I said carefully. I'm just curious. Emily crossed her arms. What are you trying to say? Nothing, I replied quickly. Emily looked at me sharply. You sound like you're accusing Emily Carter of something. I'm not accusing anyone. Then why keep repeating the number? I took a breath. Because Emily Carter said the pregnancy happened right before the trip. It probably did. 6 weeks ago wasn't right before the trip. Emily turned toward me. Doctors can be wrong. Dr. Laura Bennett sounded pretty confident. Emily shook her head. This conversation is ridiculous. I'm just asking questions. Well, stop asking, Emily snapped. The car went silent again. The rest of the drive felt uncomfortable. When we reached home, Emily opened the door quickly. I need to rest, Emily said. Emily. What? I'm happy about the baby, I said quietly. Emily stared at me. Then act like it. The door closed. I stood in the driveway for a moment. Something about the morning didn't sit right, but I pushed the thought away. Maybe Emily was just stressed. Maybe pregnancy made emotions complicated. That night I sat on the couch staring at my phone. Finally I called Olivia. Olivia answered immediately. Daniel Carter, what's up? Hey. You sound weird, Olivia said. Everything okay? Emily Carter is pregnant. There was a pause. Wow, Olivia said. That's huge news. Yeah. You don't sound excited. I am excited. Daniel Carter. What? Stop pretending, Olivia said. Something's bothering Daniel Carter. I rubbed my forehead. The doctor said Emily Carter is 6 weeks pregnant. And? Emily Carter's trip was last week. Silence filled the phone. Olivia spoke carefully. Did the doctor explain the estimate? Dr. Laura Bennett sounded pretty sure. Did Daniel Carter ask Emily Carter about it? Yeah. And? Emily Carter got defensive. Olivia sighed. Pregnancy hormones maybe. Maybe. Daniel Carter, Olivia said slowly, Emily Carter would never cheat. That's what Daniel Carter thought. Thought? Olivia asked. I don't know what to think. Olivia stayed quiet for a moment. Then Olivia asked softly, Daniel Carter, can Olivia ask something? Sure. Is Daniel Carter absolutely sure the baby is Daniel Carter's? The question hit my chest like a punch. Olivia. I'm just asking. Emily Carter is my wife. That's not the same as an answer. I stared at the dark living room. I don't want to think about that. I understand, Olivia said. But Daniel Carter should still think about it. Why? Because the timeline doesn't make sense. My chest felt tight. Maybe the doctor is wrong. Maybe, Olivia said. But Daniel Carter needs to prepare for the possibility that the doctor isn't wrong. I didn't respond. Daniel Carter? Olivia said. Yeah. Just pay attention. Pay attention to what? To the truth, Olivia said quietly. The call ended a few minutes later. I sat alone in the dark. Upstairs, Emily slept peacefully. I wanted Olivia to be wrong. I needed Olivia to be wrong. But for the first time since hearing the pregnancy news, a quiet, terrifying question started growing in my mind. I spent the next morning staring at my phone. Emily was upstairs resting, and I sat at the kitchen table scrolling through the photos from Emily's trip. Relax, Daniel, I muttered to myself. You're just being paranoid. Still, my thumb kept swiping. Beach pictures. Restaurant photos. Smiling group selfies. Emily had told me the trip was just a relaxing girls' getaway, but the photos told a slightly different story. There were men in several pictures. Okay, I whispered. Friends of friends maybe. Then I stopped scrolling. One photo caught my attention. Emily stood on a beach at sunset with 3 people. 2 women I recognized from Emily's stories, and 1 man I had never seen before. The man stood very close to Emily, closer than a stranger usually would. My stomach tightened. I zoomed in. The man had dark hair, a confident smile, and 1 arm resting casually behind Emily. Who is that? I murmured. I kept scrolling. Another photo appeared. Emily and the same man sitting beside each other at a restaurant table. Another photo. Emily laughing while the man leaned toward her. The distance between them looked comfortable. Too comfortable. I leaned back in the chair. Maybe Emily mentioned him, I said quietly, but I knew Emily hadn't. Emily had talked about Jessica and 2 other women. Emily never mentioned a man. I heard footsteps upstairs. Emily came down a minute later. Hey, Emily said. Hey. Emily walked into the kitchen and grabbed a glass of water. You working today? Emily asked. Later. Emily noticed the phone in my hand. What are you looking at? Photos from the trip. Emily froze slightly. Oh. I turned the screen toward Emily. Who's this? Emily glanced at the picture. That's Ryan Mitchell. Ryan Mitchell? Just a friend. I frowned. You never mentioned Ryan Mitchell. Emily shrugged. Ryan Mitchell joined the group for a couple days. Joined how? Ryan Mitchell lives nearby, Emily said. Jessica invited Ryan Mitchell. I studied Emily's face. Ryan Mitchell looks pretty close to Emily Carter in these photos. Emily rolled Emily Carter eyes. Daniel, it's just a photo. There are several photos. So Ryan Mitchell looks very comfortable around Emily Carter. Emily crossed Emily Carter arms. Ryan Mitchell is friendly. That's one word for it. Emily sighed. Daniel, are you seriously doing this? Doing what? Interrogating Emily Carter over vacation pictures. I'm just asking questions. Well, stop, Emily said sharply. I stared at Emily. Why does Emily Carter sound defensive? Because this conversation is ridiculous. Emily Carter didn't mention Ryan Mitchell once. Because Ryan Mitchell isn't important. Ryan Mitchell seems important enough to appear in half the pictures. Emily grabbed Emily Carter water glass. Daniel, I'm tired. I'm pregnant. I don't need this stress. I stayed quiet. Emily walked toward the stairs. Drop it, Emily said before disappearing upstairs. The house went silent again. I stared at the phone screen. Ryan Mitchell's smile stared back at me. Just a friend, I whispered, but something about the photos bothered me. Later that evening I called my best friend. Mark Reynolds answered after 2 rings. Daniel Carter, Mark Reynolds said. What's up? Mark Reynolds, can I ask something? That tone sounds serious. Just look at something. Okay. I sent the photos. A few seconds passed. Then Mark Reynolds spoke. Who's the guy? That's exactly my question. Emily Carter never mentioned him? No, Mark Reynolds was quiet. Mark Reynolds? I asked. Yeah, I'm here. What does Mark Reynolds think? Mark Reynolds sighed. Daniel Carter might not like the answer. Just say it. Mark Reynolds cleared Mark Reynolds' throat. That guy looks way too comfortable around Emily Carter. My chest tightened. Comfortable how? Look at the body language, Mark Reynolds said. Ryan Mitchell leans toward Emily Carter in every picture. Maybe Ryan Mitchell is just friendly. Friendly doesn't usually mean standing that close to someone's wife. I rubbed my forehead. You're making this worse. Daniel Carter asked for honesty. I know. Mark Reynolds continued studying the photos. Where was this trip again? Florida. And Ryan Mitchell lives there? According to Emily Carter. Mark Reynolds paused. Daniel Carter. Yeah. Did anything else feel strange recently? I hesitated. The doctor said Emily Carter is 6 weeks pregnant. Mark Reynolds was silent. Mark Reynolds? I said. 6 weeks. Yeah. And the trip was last week? Yeah. Mark Reynolds let out a slow breath. Daniel Carter. What? Daniel Carter needs to ask harder questions. I already tried, I said. Emily Carter shut the conversation down. That's not a great sign. I know. I stared at Ryan Mitchell's face again. The way Ryan Mitchell stood next to Emily. The way Emily leaned slightly toward Ryan Mitchell in one photo. Daniel Carter, Mark Reynolds said quietly. Yeah. Trust instincts. I want to trust Emily Carter. I know. But trust doesn't mean ignoring obvious problems. My chest felt heavy. I hate this feeling. Then figure out the truth, Mark Reynolds said. How? Start by asking Emily Carter directly about Ryan Mitchell. I did. And? Emily Carter said Ryan Mitchell was just a friend. Mark Reynolds sighed. Then Daniel Carter needs to decide whether that answer feels honest. I didn't respond. The silence stretched. Daniel Carter? Mark Reynolds asked. Yeah. What does Daniel Carter think? I looked again at the photos. Ryan Mitchell smiling. Emily standing close beside Ryan Mitchell. A closeness I had never noticed before. I said slowly. Daniel Carter thinks something isn't right. Mark Reynolds didn't argue. Then don't ignore that feeling. I ended the call a few minutes later. The house was quiet again. Upstairs, Emily moved around in the bedroom. I stared at the photos one more time. Before this week, I never questioned Emily Carter's loyalty. Never. But now something inside my chest felt different. Not anger. Not yet. Just a small crack forming in the trust one had built for years. And the more I looked at Ryan Mitchell standing beside Emily Carter in those photos, the wider that crack started to grow. The tension in the house kept growing. Every conversation between Emily and me felt heavier than the last. At breakfast one morning I tried again. Emily, can we talk for a minute? Emily sighed and put the coffee mug down. What now, Daniel? I just want to understand the trip better. Emily rubbed the temples. Daniel, this again? I'm not accusing Emily of anything. It feels like an accusation. I'm asking questions. Emily shook the head. Ryan is a friend. That's all. I want to believe that. Then believe it. The conversation ended there, but nothing felt resolved. Over the next few days Emily barely spoke to me. Dinner felt quiet. Even the living room felt colder. One evening I tried again. Emily. What? Can Emily sit down for a second? Emily crossed the arms. Daniel is about to ask about Ryan again, right? I just want honesty. I already gave honesty. Then help me understand something. Emily stared at me. What? Why didn't Emily mention Ryan before the trip? Emily shrugged. Because Ryan wasn't important. That's strange. What's strange? Ryan appears in half the photos. Emily rolled the eyes. Daniel is obsessed. I'm concerned. Well, stop being concerned. The frustration in Emily's voice made my chest tighten. Emily, 2 years of marriage should mean something. It does. Then act like it. Emily stood up from the couch. I'm done with this conversation. Emily walked toward the bedroom. Where are Emily going? I asked. To shower. The bathroom door closed and the sound of running water filled the hallway. I sat alone in the living room. My thoughts wouldn't stop racing. Maybe Daniel is overthinking, I whispered, but my stomach felt uneasy. A few minutes later I walked into the bedroom to grab my phone charger. Emily's phone sat on the nightstand. The screen suddenly lit up. A message notification appeared. The name on the screen made my heart freeze. Ryan. My hand hovered over the phone. Don't do this, I whispered. I didn't want to invade Emily's privacy. But another message appeared. The preview showed part of the text. My chest tightened. I slowly picked up the phone. The message read, Did Emily tell Daniel yet? My hands started shaking. Another message appeared. Ryan doesn't like waiting. My breathing grew heavier. The bathroom door opened a moment later. Emily stepped out with a towel around the shoulders. Emily stopped immediately. Why are you holding my phone? I looked up slowly. Ryan just texted. Emily's expression changed instantly. Give the phone back. Emily needs to explain something first. There's nothing to explain. I held the phone up. Ryan asked if Emily told Daniel yet. Emily's face went pale. That's not what Ryan meant. Then what did Ryan mean? Emily stepped closer. Daniel is twisting things. Am I? Yes. Then explain the message. Emily crossed the arms tightly. Ryan knows about the pregnancy. How? I told Ryan. Why would Emily tell Ryan about the pregnancy? Because Ryan is a friend. A very curious friend. Emily glared at me. Daniel needs to calm down. Ryan said Ryan doesn't like waiting. That's just Ryan's personality. Personality? I repeated. Yes. My chest felt heavy. Emily, look at me. Emily hesitated. Ryan is just a friend. Then why does Emily look scared right now? I'm not scared. Yes, Emily is. Emily looked away. Daniel is imagining things. Then look me in the eyes and say Ryan means nothing. Emily stayed silent for a moment. Finally Emily said quietly, Ryan means nothing. The words sounded rehearsed. I studied Emily's face carefully. Then unlocked the phone. Emily's head snapped up. What? Unlock the phone. No, why not? Because Daniel doesn't trust Emily. Right now Daniel is trying to. Then give the phone back. I held the phone tighter. Emily, if there's nothing to hide, show the messages. No. The word came out sharp. The silence between us grew heavy. Emily, I said quietly. What? Something is wrong. Emily shook the head quickly. No, yes. Emily walked past me and grabbed the phone from my hand. This conversation is over. Emily. What? Ryan's message proves something. It proves nothing. It proves Ryan expects Emily to confess something. Emily's voice rose. Daniel is making things up. Then tell the truth. I already did. No, yes. I stepped back. My heart felt like it was sinking. Emily. What now? Look at me. Emily slowly looked up. In that moment I saw something in Emily's eyes. Not anger. Not frustration. Fear. Real fear. The kind people show when a lie is about to collapse. My voice felt heavier when I spoke again. Emily, what happened on that trip? Nothing. Emily is lying. I'm not lying. Then prove it. Emily stayed silent. The quiet answer said more than words ever could. I took a slow breath. For years I believed my marriage was built on trust. But standing there in the bedroom, staring at Emily's frightened eyes, a terrible realization formed in my mind. Maybe the truth had already broken my marriage. And maybe I was only now starting to see the damage. The argument started before dinner. Emily stood near the kitchen counter while I leaned against the table trying to stay calm. Emily, this can't continue, I said. What does Daniel want now? Emily snapped. Honesty. I already told Daniel everything. No, I said quietly. Emily didn't. Emily crossed Emily's arms. Daniel is obsessed with Ryan. Then explain Ryan's messages. I already did. Emily said Ryan is just a friend. Because Ryan is. Friends don't send messages asking if Emily told Daniel yet. Emily looked away. Ryan was talking about the pregnancy. That's not how the message sounded. Emily rubbed Emily's forehead. Daniel is twisting everything. Then tell the truth. I am telling the truth. My voice grew sharper. Did Emily sleep with Ryan? Emily's head snapped toward me. What kind of question is that? A direct one. Emily shook Emily's head quickly. No, look me in the eyes and say it again. Emily hesitated. That hesitation answers the question. Daniel is being cruel. I'm being honest. Emily's voice rose. Nothing serious happened. I froze. What does that mean? It means, it was a mistake. My chest tightened. A mistake. Emily's voice dropped. One night. The room felt suddenly smaller. One night with Ryan? I asked quietly. Emily nodded weakly. We were drinking. That's the explanation? Yes. So alcohol erased 2 years of marriage? It wasn't planned. Ryan didn't look surprised in those photos. Emily stepped closer. Daniel needs to stop judging. Judging? I laughed bitterly. Emily cheated. It was one mistake. One mistake destroys everything. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean for Daniel to get hurt. You already hurt Daniel. I'm still here. Emily's body might be here, I said quietly. But the trust isn't. Emily wiped Emily's eyes. We can fix this. How? We go to therapy. And pretend the baby might be Ryan's? Emily went silent. The silence answered more than words. Emily doesn't even know whose baby it is, I said slowly. Emily whispered, I think it's Daniel's. You think? Yes. That's not reassuring. Emily stepped back. Daniel is making this worse. No, I said quietly. Ryan already made it worse. Emily looked down at the floor. I didn't want Daniel to find out like this. I didn't want to find out at all. The conversation died there. Emily walked upstairs without another word. I stayed in the kitchen. My hands rested on the table. Every memory of our marriage suddenly felt fragile. Our wedding. Late-night conversations. Plans for the future. Was any of it real? I whispered. Hours passed. The house grew quiet. Around 10 that night my phone rang. An unknown number appeared. I answered. Hello. A nervous female voice replied, Daniel Carter? Yes. This is Jessica Lane. Jessica? Emily's friend? Yes. My stomach tightened. Why is Jessica calling? Jessica hesitated. Jessica needs to talk about the trip. I already know about Ryan. Jessica went silent. Then Jessica sighed. Emily told Daniel? Yes. What did Emily say? That Ryan and Emily slept together once. Jessica didn't answer immediately. Jessica? I asked. Jessica spoke softly. That's not the full truth. My chest felt heavy again. What does Jessica mean? Jessica's voice trembled. Emily and Ryan were together several nights. The words hit me like a punch. Several nights. Yes. Jessica is sure? I saw them. My grip tightened on the phone. Why didn't Jessica tell Daniel earlier? Jessica felt guilty. Guilty about what? About hiding it. Jessica watched this happen? I didn't know what to do, Jessica said quietly. Emily kept saying it was nothing serious. It wasn't nothing. I know. I closed my eyes. Jessica, does Ryan know about the pregnancy? Yes. Did Ryan say anything? Ryan joked about it. My chest burned. Joked? Ryan said maybe Ryan would become a father. Silence filled the call. Jessica spoke again. Daniel. Jessica is sorry. Sorry doesn't change anything. I know. Why tell Daniel now? Because Daniel deserves the truth. I sat slowly on the couch. Jessica. Yes. Did Emily ever plan to tell Daniel? I don't think so. The answer hurt more than the confession. Thank you for telling Daniel. I wish things were different. So do I. The call ended. I sat in silence for a long time. Upstairs, Emily moved around the bedroom. Emily probably believed the truth had already come out, but the real truth was worse. Emily didn't cheat once. Emily cheated repeatedly. The hope I still held shattered completely. For days I tried to convince myself the marriage could survive. But sitting alone in that dark living room holding the phone in my hand, I finally understood something painful. The relationship I believed in was already gone. And the truth I never wanted to hear had finally destroyed the last piece of hope I had left. For weeks anger sat inside my chest like fire. Every morning I woke up thinking about Ryan Mitchell. Every night I imagined confronting Ryan Mitchell. One evening I called Mark Reynolds again. Mark Reynolds, I said when the call connected, Daniel Carter can't stop thinking about Ryan Mitchell. Mark Reynolds answered calmly. What kind of thinking? The kind where Daniel Carter drives to Florida and punches Ryan Mitchell in the face. Mark Reynolds let out a quiet breath. Honestly, Mark Reynolds said, Mark Reynolds understands that feeling. Ryan Mitchell destroyed Daniel Carter's marriage. Ryan Mitchell helped destroy it, Mark Reynolds corrected. Emily Carter made the decision. That doesn't make Ryan Mitchell innocent. No, Mark Reynolds said. Ryan Mitchell isn't innocent. Silence filled the phone for a moment. Daniel Carter wants revenge, I admitted. What would revenge look like? Mark Reynolds asked. I don't know. Ruining Ryan Mitchell's job? Maybe. Embarrassing Ryan Mitchell publicly? Maybe that too. Mark Reynolds spoke slowly. And after all that, would Daniel Carter feel better? I didn't answer. Mark Reynolds continued. Revenge feels powerful in imagination. Right now revenge feels necessary. Maybe, Mark Reynolds said. But revenge usually traps people longer. What does that mean? It means Daniel Carter keeps thinking about Ryan Mitchell instead of moving forward. The words bothered me. I still want to confront Ryan Mitchell. Confrontation isn't the same as revenge. What's the difference? Confrontation asks questions, Mark Reynolds said. Revenge tries to destroy someone. I'm not sure which one Daniel Carter wants. Then Daniel Carter needs time. After the call ended, I drove to my father's house. Michael Carter opened the door and studied my face immediately. Daniel Carter looks tired, Michael Carter said. Life has been complicated. Michael Carter stepped aside. Come inside. We sat at the kitchen table. Michael Carter poured coffee for both of us. So, Michael Carter said, tell Michael Carter what's happening. Emily Carter cheated. Michael Carter didn't react with surprise. With Ryan Mitchell? Yes. And the baby? I don't know whose baby it is. Michael Carter nodded slowly. That must hurt. It feels like someone erased my life. Michael Carter stayed quiet for a moment. Daniel Carter thinking about revenge? I stared at the coffee. Yes. What kind of revenge? Destroying Ryan Mitchell. Michael Carter leaned back slightly. Daniel Carter believes revenge will fix the pain? No, I admitted. Then why chase it? Because Ryan Mitchell deserves it. Michael Carter folded the hands together. Maybe Ryan Mitchell does deserve consequences. That's what Daniel Carter thinks. Michael Carter shook the head gently. But revenge chains Daniel Carter to Ryan Mitchell. What does that mean? It means Ryan Mitchell continues controlling Daniel Carter's emotions. That sounds unfair. It is unfair, Michael Carter said quietly. But life often is. I sighed. So Daniel Carter should just forgive everyone? I didn't say forgive. Then what? Move forward. That sounds simple. It isn't simple, Michael Carter replied. But it gives Daniel Carter freedom. The word stayed in my mind. Freedom. Later that night Emily called me. I answered reluctantly. Daniel? What does Emily want? Emily needs to talk. We already talked. Please. I stayed silent for a moment. Okay. Emily's voice sounded tired. Ryan Mitchell isn't answering calls anymore. That surprises Daniel Carter. Emily sniffed quietly. Ryan Mitchell blocked Emily Carter. Convenient timing. Ryan Mitchell said the situation was too complicated. So Ryan Mitchell walked away. Yes. I leaned back on the couch. That's what Ryan Mitchell always planned. Emily's voice shook. Emily Carter made a mistake. Several mistakes. I know. Now Emily Carter wants sympathy? No, then what? I want another chance. I laughed bitterly. A second chance after cheating and lying? Yes. Emily Carter didn't give Daniel Carter honesty. I'm giving honesty now. It's late honesty. Emily's voice cracked. I'm scared. About what? About losing Daniel Carter. You already lost Daniel Carter when Emily Carter chose Ryan Mitchell. Silence filled the call. Finally Emily said softly, Daniel Carter is different now. How? Daniel Carter sounds colder. I sound realistic. Daniel Carter used to love Emily Carter. That love was built on trust. And now? Now Daniel Carter is deciding what life looks like without Emily Carter. Emily cried quietly. Please don't leave. Emily Carter made that decision first. I regret it. I believe Emily Carter regrets consequences. That's not fair. Nothing about this situation is fair. The conversation slowed. Finally Emily whispered, Daniel Carter hates Emily Carter. No, then what? I'm learning to live without Emily Carter. Emily went quiet. After a long pause Emily asked, Is there anything Emily Carter can do? Yes. What? Tell the truth about everything. I already did. No, I said calmly. Emily Carter told the truth only after getting caught. The call ended soon after. I sat alone in the quiet room. 4 weeks my mind had chased revenge, but Michael Carter's words stayed with me. Revenge chains people to pain. Freedom means walking away. That night I finally understood something important. Ryan Mitchell already destroyed my past. Emily Carter already destroyed my trust. But what happened next was my choice. I could spend years fighting them. Or I could rebuild my life. For the first time since the betrayal began, the power to choose finally felt like it belonged to me. The morning I decided to file for divorce felt strangely calm. Emily sat across from me at the kitchen table. "Daniel, please think about this again," Emily said softly. "I already did. We can fix things." "No," I replied quietly. Emily broke something that can't be repaired. Emily wiped tears from Emily's eyes. "I made mistakes. More than mistakes. I regret everything. That doesn't rebuild trust." Emily leaned forward. "Please don't do this. I already am." "What about the baby?" "That question doesn't change anything." Emily's voice shook. "So Daniel Carter is giving up on the marriage?" "I'm accepting reality." Emily covered Emily's face with Emily's hands. "I never thought things would end like this." "Neither did I." The room went silent. After a moment I stood. "I'm meeting a lawyer today." Emily looked up quickly. "A lawyer?" "Yes." "Daniel Carter moved on that fast?" "This process started weeks ago." Emily stared at me like the words hurt physically. "Daniel Carter planned this?" "I prepared for it." I grabbed my keys and walked toward the door. "Daniel Carter?" Emily said quietly. I paused. Emily Carter still loves Daniel Carter. I didn't turn around. Love without loyalty means nothing. The lawyer's office felt quiet and professional. A woman stood when I entered. "Daniel Carter?" the woman asked. "Yes. I'm Sophia Martinez." "Nice to meet Sophia Martinez." Sophia Martinez smiled gently. "Please sit." I took the chair across from the desk. Sophia Martinez studied my expression. "This situation must be difficult." "That's an understatement." Sophia Martinez nodded with understanding. "Divorce usually carries emotional weight." Emily Carter cheated. Sophia Martinez didn't look surprised. "That happens more often than people expect." "I never thought it would happen to Daniel Carter." Sophia Martinez leaned forward slightly. "What outcome does Daniel Carter want?" "Freedom. That's a clear goal." "I don't want revenge." Sophia Martinez smiled faintly. "That's healthier than many clients." "I just want closure." Sophia Martinez opened a folder. "We can file immediately." "How long will the process take?" "A few months." "That's manageable." Sophia Martinez paused. "Daniel Carter seems calmer than most people in this situation." "I was angry before." "And now?" "Now Daniel Carter feels tired." Sophia Martinez nodded. "Emotional exhaustion often follows betrayal." "That sounds accurate." Sophia Martinez handed me some papers. "Sign here." I picked up the pen. My hand hesitated for a moment. Sophia Martinez noticed. "Second thoughts?" "No," I signed the papers. Sophia Martinez closed the folder. "It's done." For the first time in weeks I felt lighter. Later that afternoon Mark Reynolds called. "Daniel Carter filed for divorce?" "Yes." "How does Daniel Carter feel?" "Strangely peaceful." "That's a good sign." "Maybe." Mark Reynolds hesitated. "Daniel Carter heard about Ryan Mitchell?" "No, Ryan Mitchell's business is collapsing." "What happened?" "Ryan Mitchell's partner exposed some shady deals." "Who's the partner?" "Ethan Brooks." I frowned. "So Ethan Brooks turned against Ryan Mitchell?" "Looks that way." "What kind of deals?" "Financial fraud, according to the news." I leaned back in the chair. "That sounds serious." "It is." "So Ryan Mitchell is losing everything." "Pretty much." The irony felt strange. "Daniel Carter didn't even need revenge," I said quietly. "Sometimes karma works faster than people expect." "Maybe." Mark Reynolds laughed softly. "Ryan Mitchell thought Ryan Mitchell was untouchable. Now Ryan Mitchell isn't." "Exactly." We talked a few minutes longer before ending the call. That night my phone rang again. Emily's name appeared on the screen. I considered ignoring it, but I answered. "Hello." Emily was crying. "Daniel, everything is falling apart." "What happened?" "Ryan Mitchell lied." "That's not surprising." "Ryan Mitchell said Ryan Mitchell never planned to stay." I stayed quiet. "Ryan Mitchell told Emily Carter the relationship was temporary," Emily said. "Emily Carter believed Ryan Mitchell." "Yes." "And now Ryan Mitchell disappeared." Emily sobbed quietly. "Ryan Mitchell won't answer calls. That's what Ryan Mitchell does." Emily's voice trembled. "Emily Carter ruined everything." I didn't respond. "Daniel Carter was right about Ryan Mitchell." "I know." "I destroyed my own life," Emily whispered. Those words hung in the silence. Months earlier hearing those words might have felt satisfying, but now they felt empty. Emily Carter regrets everything, Emily said. I believe that. Does Daniel Carter hate Emily Carter? No. Then what does Daniel Carter feel? I thought carefully before answering. Distance. Emily cried again. I wish Emily Carter could go back in time. That's not possible. I know. Daniel Carter already moved forward. Emily whispered, without Emily Carter. Yes. The silence stretched between us. Finally Emily said softly, Daniel Carter deserves happiness. So does Emily Carter. Emily Carter doesn't feel like Emily Carter deserves it. That's something Emily Carter has to figure out. Emily sniffed. Goodbye, Daniel. Goodbye, Emily. The call ended. I set the phone down. Months ago that conversation would have shattered me. Now it didn't. The anger had faded. The heartbreak had softened. And somewhere along the way, I realized something important. Karma didn't need my help. Karma moved quietly. And by the time Emily Carter finally understood the damage caused, I had already started building a life without Emily Carter. A year changed everything. One morning Mark Reynolds called while I was driving to work. Daniel Carter sounds busy these days, Mark Reynolds said. New job keeps Daniel Carter moving. That's a good thing. It really is. So Daniel Carter is finally happy again? I thought for a moment. Daniel Carter feels peaceful. That's better than happiness, Mark Reynolds replied. Maybe. What kind of work is Daniel Carter doing now? Project manager at an engineering firm. Big upgrade from the old job. Yeah. Daniel Carter deserves it. Life finally feels stable again. Mark Reynolds laughed softly. Funny how everything changed in 1 year. Daniel Carter knows. Does Daniel Carter still think about Emily Carter? Sometimes. And? The memories don't hurt anymore. That's real healing. Maybe. Later that day I walked out of the office building for lunch. The city felt warm and bright. My phone buzzed with a message from Sophia Martinez. Lunch meeting tomorrow? Sophia Martinez wrote. I smiled slightly and replied, sounds good. Working with Sophia Martinez during the divorce had slowly turned into friendship. Maybe something more one day. But I wasn't rushing anything. Peace felt more important than romance. As I walked down the sidewalk, a familiar voice stopped me. Daniel Carter? I turned around. Emily Carter stood a few steps away. For a second I barely recognized Emily Carter. Emily Carter looked thinner, more tired. The confidence Emily Carter once carried had faded. Hello, Emily Carter, I said calmly. Emily Carter looked nervous. I didn't expect to see Daniel Carter here. Neither did I. Emily Carter shifted awkwardly. How has Daniel Carter been? Good. That's nice to hear. How about Emily Carter? Emily Carter looked down. Life has been difficult. I'm sorry to hear that. Emily Carter nodded slowly. Ryan Mitchell disappeared after everything. I heard. Ryan Mitchell left a lot of problems behind. That sounds like Ryan Mitchell. Emily Carter took a deep breath. Daniel Carter looks different. How? Stronger. I shrugged slightly. Time helps. Emily Carter looked at me carefully. Emily Carter owes Daniel Carter an apology. I stayed quiet. I destroyed our marriage, Emily Carter continued. Yes. I betrayed Daniel Carter. Yes. I regret it every day. I believe that. Emily Carter's voice shook. Daniel Carter must hate Emily Carter. No, Emily Carter looked surprised. No. Hatred takes too much energy. Then what does Daniel Carter feel? Acceptance. Emily Carter wiped tears away. Emily Carter wishes things had been different. So do I. I was selfish. Yes. I believed Ryan Mitchell. That was a mistake. The biggest mistake of Emily Carter's life. The street noise filled the silence between us. Emily Carter spoke again. Does Daniel Carter remember the old days? Sometimes. And? Those memories belong to another life. Emily Carter nodded slowly. Daniel Carter deserved better. I deserved honesty. I'm sorry. I know. Emily Carter looked at me carefully. Daniel Carter seems peaceful. Life became simpler after letting go. Emily Carter is glad Daniel Carter found peace. Thank you. Emily Carter hesitated. Is Daniel Carter seeing someone? I smiled slightly. Daniel Carter is getting to know someone. Who? Sophia Martinez. Emily Carter looked surprised. The lawyer? Yes. Emily Carter laughed softly through tears. That's ironic. Life has a strange sense of humor. Emily Carter wiped the eyes again. Daniel Carter deserves happiness. So does Emily Carter. I'm not sure Emily Carter deserves it. Everyone deserves a chance to grow. Emily Carter looked at the ground. Emily Carter is trying. That's good. The moment stretched quietly. Finally Emily Carter said, "This might be the last time Emily Carter sees Daniel Carter." Maybe. I'm glad this conversation happened. So am I. Emily Carter stepped back. Goodbye, Daniel Carter. Goodbye, Emily Carter. Emily Carter turned and walked down the street. I watched Emily Carter disappear into the crowd. A year ago that moment would have filled me with anger, but now I only felt calm. The pain that once controlled my life had faded. Emily Carter's betrayal almost destroyed me, but it also forced me to rebuild myself. I had a better job, new friendships, new possibilities, and most importantly, peace. As I continued walking toward the restaurant where Sofia Martinez waited, a quiet realization settled inside my mind. My life didn't end when my marriage collapsed. That moment only revealed the truth I had been too blind to see. Losing Emily Carter felt like losing everything. But in reality, losing Emily Carter gave me the chance to build a life stronger than the one I almost lost.